we go. So fingers crossed. Setting up your meeting for Facebook Live. Okay, that's obviously a change, host to host. And yes, we are now streaming live on Facebook, and we have just discovered that the latest update to Zoom no longer allows an invited host to stream on Facebook. So it has to be done from my control panel. So if you are someone out there who is using Zoom, because I have somebody working in the background, Esther, as some of you have met her over the weeks, who manages all the techie stuff in the background. But this week, the Zoom update will no longer allow me to let my new host, who would be Esther, do all the tech stuff today. So I'm here on my own, watching, fingers crossed, and hope I have some audience. So my apologies for being late, but that's what updates do. Now, topic today, the very first thing I have to do is at the very end of today, I will post up the winner from last week's competition from Yoga Ireland. She sent me a video this morning where she did the draw and announced the winner. So that video will go up today after today's interview with Dolores Andrew Gavin from the Women's Empowerment Podcast, which she set up. Dolores, delighted to have you on board. Apologies for the delay now in going live.
Delighted to be here. Speaking about one of my favorite topics.
Absolutely. Women's empowerment. Just step back. How did that podcast come about? And if I could just ask you just to sit a little closer to your mic, that would be brilliant. Thanks, Pat. And how did that podcast come about, like women's empowerment?
Sure. Good topic. So I guess, good question, should I say. It's always been about finding your voice for me. And what better way to find your voice than to actually start doing a podcast?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a flippant answer maybe, but my story has been my empowering journey to step into my own empowerment has been the finding your voice bit. And I think that's my mission, my soul journey, my purpose, my direction is to help women find their voice also and to become empowered, because there are so many of us that are not empowered.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was chatting to you beforehand, and this bubble that everybody is in at the moment, it can obviously it affects everybody differently, but some women can actually thrive and only realize their strength and how empowered their voice is. And when I use the word voice, I mean their voice mentally, their voice physically, their voice verbally. Your voice can kind of consume all three elements.
For sure. I work a lot holistically as well as a therapist. So, I describe it a lot as our root voice. And our root voice, if we know the chakra system, it has to do with our root chakra, which is our foundation in life. And, I also work a lot with Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
I know it well.
Yeah. So the root chakra, the foundation is the really primal, the survival. If we don't have a good foundation, if we don't think that we're worthy of being seen and being heard and having our basic needs met, then we don't have a good foundation. And I always use the it's gone out of my head now. There's a song, our castles are built on pillars of salt. That wonderful song. And it's because we could be up there like the man in that song, the king. He was king of everything, but because his foundations were built on sand, obviously sand doesn't hold a person up. And if we are not empowered, we can be going, we can be working, but something perhaps like a pandemic or something else in life will happen and things can come crushing down for us, and we don't have the adaptability or the foundation to actually, now it's obviously, I will say this as well, the basic survival will be triggered anyway. Fears, old stories around fear, it's only natural that they will be triggered. But now 6 weeks later, it's how we have begun to be more resilient because we're honing back in and we're, you know, going back unconsciously back into our foundations, and they're keeping a lot of us standing. It's allowing a lot of people pivot and change direction with not as much fear, I suppose, as some people may have. And that's okay if you find yourself, you know, fearful. It's not about, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I have no foundation. It's okay. You know, it's fixable.
Yeah, because one of the things, and I know I said it speaking to somebody previously, and one of the weeks gone by, is that what I have found was it can come in waves at the moment. It's like a grief, because so much has been taken away from us, you know. And as I heard somebody say the other day, actually, and it was online on a webinar I was on, and it's not even that we were locked down, we were shocked down, you know.
Yeah,
and I thought, when I heard that, I said, so it's not my phrase, we were shocked down. And so trying to find that inner strength, that inner voice to kind of pull us up and empower ourselves, you know. And the word empower even kind of brings you even further than just what you're doing there and then at that moment, because you use it to carry yourself further.
And the word power is in the word empowerment. And, you know, it's how we deal with our personal power, makes sense of our whole empowerment. There are 3 ways we deal with our power. We can be aggressive, we can be passive aggressive, or we can be assertive. And really, like, we always fall into one of these. And this is something that I do as part of my coaching program. And this week always gets people kind of maybe even upset when they realize that they've been acting passive aggressively. But we all do. So do I.
Yeah.
You know, it's unconscious. When we're passive aggressive now, you know, if you Google that, you might think that's not me. But some parts of it, you know, I was a people pleaser. I know I can still, I have to rein in sometimes. It's not badness. It's not that I'm always trying to, it's just, I want to help, you know, it's part of my nature. But sometimes people haven't asked me for my help. It's not my place. So, you know, it's learning about being assertive more so. And, you know, if I put myself out there to try and help someone and they knock me back, it's not taking it personally. First of all, they haven't asked me. And secondly, I wasn't maybe assertive enough to do it in a way that would respect that they didn't ask me. So it's always about power. It's always about being assertive, you know, and looking after my needs. If I was a kind of a person that always went around trying to help everyone, you know, that's not being very respectful anyway of my needs. You know, it's about me giving away too much without, and maybe another way we can look at it is maybe I have an agenda. I think if I do that for her, well, then she should do that back for me. That's not being assertive. When you're assertive, you're actually standing in your own personal power. That word again, power. You're neither powering over anyone, nor are you letting anyone power over you. It's a wonderful place to be. It's not any way aggressive. It's just, it's like
knowing your own space.
It is. It's like that yoga pose, the warrior. The warrior is standing tall. It's a very strong pose in yoga. You're not doing any harm to anyone. And that's what being assertive really looks like. And it's dealing with your power in a wonderful, assertive way.
Yeah, and I was listening to, you shared one of your podcasts the other evening, and you had recorded it back, I think sometime around St. Patrick's Day or St. Patrick's weekend. And when you were talking about that kind of the empowerment and realizing your own space and your thoughts and everything like that, but you related it to when you see something online, or because obviously we're all online at the moment, you know, for one thing and another, whether it's like this on a webcast or for work or even just the news, we're online. And you were saying that, you know, if you see somebody stepping ahead, you're doing something, but they're out there, you know, what is the reason that they're out there? You know, don't be taking it personally. Yeah, and I thought that, you know, and even myself, I mean, yeah, we've done it. I've done it.
Of course,
you know,
we all have.
And then you kind of process it.
Yeah, and you know, and this goes back to what I talk about a bit as well, and I spoke about it at an event last year. It's using jealousy, the emotion of jealousy or envy, as a tool to propel you, rather than looking at, you know, rather than that taking it personally. And of course, you know, we might be working in one area, and we might see someone that's just started or something, or maybe they've been doing it for a while, and they're the one that's on the stage, and you think to yourself, I'm actually better than them. You know, why am I on the stage? And that's wonderful. You know, well, it's wonderful in a way that you can sort of, if you take the time to say, well, actually, why am I not? You know, it's okay to be in
Yeah,
a
it's
state of
turning it
jealousy for a
around.
moment or two. We can't deny any of our emotions, but it's looking at, you know, is it something that I am doing that I actually didn't ask to be on the stage? Maybe maybe I need to get a course on confidence. But it's like, so it's using it rather than feeling wounded. You know, nobody ever picks me, go back into whatever story we have, you know, around a lot of other beliefs about our worthiness. You know, it's that really becoming empowered with our sense of worthiness. Well, actually, the reason I'm not on that stage is because I'm not in that group they're in. Maybe they know someone and maybe that's how they got on it. And, you know, that sucks sometimes if we know that someone just got there because of who they know. But it's life, and it's how we deal with that. How can we change? How can we become more empowered to be the person, to let that jealousy propel us, and to go get ourselves a gig on a stage?
And actually, yeah, because you found your voice really over the last few months, and your voice is
Last few
taking you.
years.
Yeah, and we will dip back there actually, but your voice is actually taking you to Arizona in October.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and because one of the tools I use to get my voice out there, and one of the tools that I have used myself was when I found my voice was trying to find a platform, and I just love Twitter. And every time I talk about Twitter, seemingly, I get very excited. So, I mean, I never decided I was going to run Twitter training courses, but I'm always asked about it. And this particular lady, Leah Woodford, I was doing an author course with her there last year. Last year, come beginning of this year. And she said, oh my God, every time you talk about Twitter, you get so excited. So she asked me to be on her stage, on her influencer panel, speaking all things Twitter, which, you know, I have no problem doing because it's finding your voice. It's not going away from what I do in a way. My Twitter course actually starts off with a huge chunk about this topic. I'm also an author, so I love writing. So it's the subtle art of storytelling, becoming clear on who you are, your story. And when you have that clarity, you can go and you can find a platform to put it out there on. There's no point finding your voice if you can't get it out.
Yeah, and
I
actually
love
you've
Twitter.
mentioned something there, absolutely, which is your story, you know, and the story behind, and you and I both know, because I mean, we've interacted in different networks over the years, and we have learned over those few years about how important that story is behind us, you know. I mean, it's like me, I ended up going into coaching because I broke both my arms. You know, so it was putting all the tools of the trade that I had prior to that and, you know, amalgamating them into learning then about coaching and using all those skills. So yeah, definitely finding and knowing, actually it's one thing finding your story, but actually knowing it and understanding it and why it works, I think is what really, really taps into how you empower yourself and how you know, empower your voice.
Absolutely. And you know, you will get lessons along the way. I mean, I've shared the story now I shared it for the first time, I suppose, in Metro newspaper in England, where they were looking, this is through Twitter. I got this art, you know, a journalist was looking for a story, and you'll always find them on Twitter. Sorry, I have a teenager glaring at me here.
Oh yeah, we're home. That's right.
Working from home. I'm
working from home.
Sorry.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, I mean, it happens. I'm surprised my dog hasn't trotted in here beside me too.
Deep breaths. So yeah, you know, it's like I was getting clear signs for several years because I didn't have my voice, and it would have kept happening until I actually became empowered. And that's been my journey, as I say. And one of the things that happened to me was I didn't go in, or a few of the things briefly, I didn't go into working what I wanted to do after school, because who was I to go to college? No one ever, our family ever had. And marketing was what I wanted to do. So I became secretary, which I never wanted to do. And I was a legal secretary for 20 years.
Yeah, been there.
The recession happened. I lost my job. Woohoo. Fantastic. I was free. And that's when I started to change. But still, the finding your voice bit came, I suppose, a catalyst for me was when I was in my 30s. I had my teenager was young, and I was bullied by a younger girl than me in a legal office. Didn't have my voice again. You know, story was going to keep coming up for me. And I had a miscarriage during that time as well. So, you know, big story. And, you know, these are the things that make you who you are.
Yeah.
Because I had to obviously find my voice, and I wouldn't be bullied now in an office because I'm assertive. I've studied assertive training. So I would be very clear now on my boundaries. I know how to put up boundaries. They're not disrespecting me.
Yeah,
They're,
and that's
it's
important.
how I
And I've
would,
said it to clients
know.
even that would come to me that, you know, to look after self is not actually selfish. Because if you don't look after self, and as you say, mark those boundaries, you know, then you're actually no good to, say, your family or to anybody else. You're certainly no good to yourself if you cannot mind yourself, you know, first and foremost. I mean, you have to have a focus in on yourself too, or it isn't going to come across then to any others.
No, absolutely. And your voice is like, and it's going back to that, as I said earlier, the root. It's your voice. It's your voice. It's your voice underneath all the limiting beliefs, all the societal patterns and the values. Values are huge. What values you have on yourself as a feminine. That's where the empowerment comes in. You know, as a female business owner, it's not about feminism or anything like that, because that word just means, it has too many connotations for different people. You know, it's the feminine coming into ourselves, like men can do as well, become empowered. It's empowerment is for men and women, but I focus on women's empowerment because I've had the stories myself that I've had to transcend, and that I have transcended, and still an ongoing journey, of course, in some of them. But you know, it's about taking that root voice, your voice, underneath the layers of societal values, of limiting beliefs that we have taken on from what we were told we should do, is a word that should.
And I think our connection has gone there.
Never be used.
Are you back? You back? You have frozen on my screen. Sorry. We got that word should, and then the screen froze, unfortunately, Dolores.
That's okay. Yeah. So, you know, it's just, as I say, your root voice is it's going under the layers. It's who you are authentically, without any story bar your own, you know. And it's when we start that journey of peeling back those layers and becoming empowered, it's we begin to work on purpose, because we're coming from our own self. And, you know, when I say root voice, our voice comes out here, our fifth chakra. You know, it's what we say, but it's also what we say to ourselves, you know. So if we are, you know, not being nice to ourselves, unbeknownst again to ourselves, always putting our family first, or always putting somebody else first, then that is actually, we might be saying, well, I need to this because, and we're saying something against ourselves, because we all know, as you said yourself earlier, we have to fill our own cup. I mean, everybody deserves as well. It's you deserve to have your own cup filled, you know.
And it's funny because sorry, I know I shouldn't interrupt.
No, you're okay.
Not. But just what you just said there, filling our, you know, making sure our own cup is full as well. But you mentioned something there a few minutes ago, because we are of that generation where we were told, now you should do this, you should do that, and you should. And the list was given off, say, by mom, dad, or school, the teachers, whoever it was. And the thing is then that by the time, like both you and I have kids, that by the time then we're parents or whatever, we're going, oh, well, I should do XYZ with Junior, and I should do X, you know, and there's all of these shoulds are coming down the road. And then all of a sudden you kind of feel, now hang on a second, behind all those shoulds, you know, is a woman, a person, you know, I'm human, you know, I have emotions and feelings and thoughts and all of those. So why am I kind of waiting behind this? And I think that's the thing about women's empowerment, you know, is being able for them like that to chat to yourself or other coaches like that, where they can have somebody help them actually find, because a lot of women get very, very lost along the way and think that just because they are where they are now, that's it.
Absolutely. And one of my offerings, I call it Finding Your Business Mojo. And, you know, like I have a coach as well. Like I know I did go through my own stories, but like everybody, but I certainly needed to get a coach to help me as well. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, you know, we all do, no matter where we are. We're always 1 or 2 steps ahead of somebody in some part of our life story, but we're also always 1 or 2 steps behind somebody else in another story. So it's like, if we find we're off balance in with one thing, it's okay to get help for that. And, you know, maybe you help other people, even if you are a coach, maybe you deal more with anxiety. So you deal, you know, that's your niche, let's say, but you also might need help yourself in another area of coaching. And that's, you know, we're all human, as you say, and it just is what it is.
Yeah,
We can't be balanced all the time. We're never going to be like, you know, unless we get to self-actualization as at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But it's always really about being the best you can and living to the fullest of your potential.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And do you know what? I know something else. I know this conversation could actually go on all day, because we could actually get very, very deeply into it.
And I am a talker.
Oh, well, hang on, here's your sister. So don't worry about it. And you're not going to believe it, but there's a courier walking around past my window and he's about to make a delivery, and we're live on Facebook. And I just hope my daughter inside can collect it.
Yes, and as a, you know, the teenager was looking for his dinner because he's gone out earlier, so I was trying to avoid eye contact there.
Look, don't be worrying about it. Dolores, it was absolutely delightful having you on today, and I know we will chat again. Esther, I'm hoping you can hear me there in the background. Did it go up okay online?
Thanks for having me.
No bother. That's about it. I'll chat to you soon, Dolores. Thank you so much, Pat. Cheers. Bye.